Yeah, well, they have to be. It's part of the deal.
Okay. All
So we
right.
are recording, everyone. It's going to be very secret. It'll just go into the mighty networks. And JJ's asked me to hold off for a couple of weeks till her book comes out. So we are all getting secret squirrel stuff that no one else will get to see for a little while. So let me introduce my amazing friend, JJ Ferrari, who I met because she came to one of our lunches right at the beginning of the lockdown. And
Yeah.
we have become great mates since then. JJ is, I'm going to let her introduce herself, other than to say she is one of my favorite people in the world. And this woman friggin' knows sales like you wouldn't believe. She was working, and she'll tell you a bit more, but a general manager of Tony Robbins. She's worked with Jay Abrams. She's been all across the States doing all sorts of incredible things as well. So hi, Nikki. Lovely to see you as well. JJ, I'm handing the screen to you. The only thing I'd say to people is when she does share screen, you might want to go up into your view and do speaker view only, or speaker and speaker and side by side, you know, with the thing, just so you don't get all of us and you can't see what's on the screen.
Kind of like that. Yeah, I think so.
Who said kind of like that? Hi, Carrie. Yes. Yep. So I'm going to change it to speaker view because then I get to see you when you're doing all the talking.
All right, well, you're actually going to see you'll see the
screen. Yeah.
Great.
You can pin the speaker, Jules. I don't even know what that means. Sorry, just wait 1 second. What does that mean, Pollyanna?
You know the little, if you go into the image with where I think
where JJ is, yeah.
I've just done it.
I can go pin.
The three little dots, you click on that, and you just go pin speaker. So
I've just done
that means that means we can see, you can still see the gallery if you want to, but then you've got beautiful JJ front and center. So
front and center. Well, there you go. I've learned a new trick today already.
Sad day when you take advice off me, love.
I would take advice on anyone when it comes to technology. All right, JJ, handing the stage over to you.
Ta-da! Well, thank you all for being here today. This is going to be really informal, but I'm going to take you through something that I taught for years. I taught sales pretty much around the globe. And that's what actually led to me getting the role with Tony Robbins as the CEO for his business, because I had trained sales teams for them around the globe. But I've also worked with more than 1,800 small businesses. And what you're really going to see is I love small business because people are so much more passionate about that. In corporate, they're so much more passionate about being pissed off or meetings than they are actually growing the business. And I think that small business really, if you're doing it right, well, you can actually do some amazing things locally, regionally, even nationally and globally. But I also ran 300-seat call centers. So I got a lot of practice in taking non-salespeople and training them so that they could do very, very well, not only on the phone, but when we moved some of them into face-to-face sales, and even some of them have become copywriters. So what I'm going to be sharing with you is how to actually grow your sales business. And it's not going to all be about technique. And here's why it's not going to be about technique. You can know all the technique in the world. And I know a lot of people who know a lot about sales, but they couldn't run a business if they had to. And so it's really important that you understand that there's a really big balance between a salesperson and someone who owns a business. And the idea is to show you ideas you can use to grow your business and how you can actually measure your sales through it. Now, I am going to give you 4 sales techniques. One is for getting more sales that you thought were actually impossible. I'm going to show you how you can actually make your sales more consistent. I'm going to show you how you can actually make larger sales. And I'm going to show you how to make better sales, so that I call it the 3 musketeers, all for one and one for all. So every presentation you're doing is to improve the next one. And that next one should improve all the rest of them going forward, right? So we're going to talk about those. But before we get into this really, we're going to use the chat. And I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint so that we can get into this. And I'm going to ask you to just take a look at some of these questions. Let me see if I can move this out of the way. So, slide. Here's my view. Check the navigator. Slide only. There we go. So what I'd like you to do is, if you would, just take a minute and I want you to, oh, why did I do that? Sorry, guys. I just want you to, in the chat, if you would, just write down a couple of things. What do you need from today? Why did you decide to come to something about sales, right? Just have a think about that. So some people be like, oh, I was doing it to help out Jules, or, just wanted to find out if there was anything new on sales. But if you own a business and you could get something out of this about running your sales better, what would it be? I'm just curious. And then you can write down, if you want, what do you need for the next 90 days? If you were going to grow your sales, and if you weren't even thinking about sales, but you were thinking about dollars for your business, what would you need in the next 90 days? There's a big difference between need and want, which I'll explain a little bit more about, right? But in the next 90 days, what do you need to get from your business? And then the last one in that group, obviously, is what you need from 2022. What do you want to get from the rest of this year? I mean, we've got 6 months. That's it. 6 months are gone. And we've only got 6 months left. So write down a few ideas about those three, and then I'll take you through the rest. I don't mind if you read the rest. We're going to answer them, though, together. And then you'll see my very big claim there. And I'm going to tell you how that actually can come to be.
JJ, if you want me to do anything like read out answers or something, just let me know. Or do you want me to do that? Or do you want to just have a look at it after we've all finished?
So I'm just having a look, and I'll go out. I'll read some of them out.
Okay. Do you want us to keep going with write down annual sales and all that stuff as well?
No, let's do the first three, and then we'll get into those. And those ones you don't have to put into the chat. Those are, I want you to write them down for yourself. I want you to see if you can answer them, actually. All right, so what you guys are doing, let me read some of these out. So more confidence with sales, some clever ideas. I'm not good at sales. You'd be so surprised. I'm great at customer service, but not at selling. And those are, customer service takes more sales skill than selling does, believe it or not. Understanding how to grow my sales, okay. A booster on how to get more sales, great. I don't see anything we're not going to be able to cover so far. Consistent sales mode isn't going on, okay. Streamlining the sales process, got you covered. Jules wants to hit 30K, woohoo. Emma wants to go for 120, woohoo. Consistency in sales, consistent sales. You can hear a theme going on here.
Yeah.
In the next 90 days, sell my online events, okay, 50K minimum, okay. Grow membership base, community, and dollar retainers. From today, where to start, okay. 22, expansion in the UK and US, excellent. I was interested in how to better bring in sales, so to do more of what I love, supporting my clients, okay. Been a bumpy few years. I think everyone would agree with that. 2022, you want to set up the next 12 months after that. Brilliant. 2022 is about expanding my profile and getting ready to move into the USA market. Obviously, you want more sales to be able to do that. Today, one thing to make me better at selling, 90 days, sell up my retreat, okay, and marketing strategy makeover program. 2022, my best year yet. Woohoo! I love it. All right. 10 new incubator clients. All right. Have a consistent strategy in selling over the next 90 days. Okay. So guys, you've actually given some answers that are pretty attainable for today, which is really exciting. Now, you don't have to write down the answers in the chat for the rest of these, but just have a look at them. Can you write down your current annual sales as a single number, just like bang, off the top of your head? Can you write down your current monthly sales?
Not so much.
What's that, Jules?
Well, sorry, I didn't realize I'm on. I'm like, as I work down, it's less and less likely I can answer it. So I can probably do annual sales, monthly,
Right.
not so much, average sale, no idea. Upsell, I don't even know where to begin with. And
Yeah.
and I know roughly my average number of monthly referrals.
Gotcha. So if you don't know the answers to these 5 questions, then it makes sense why you're probably still looking for ideas to actually make your sales better. Because these numbers, if you're looking at them correctly and you've got a strategy for them, actually helps you to be able to grow your sales. Bless you, Pollyanna. But here's the question I've got for you. What would happen if your current annual sales became your regular quarterly or monthly income? And what would you do in the next 90 days different if we could actually make that possible? And before we get started and looking at how we're actually going to be able to do that, I want to tell you, through COVID, the last 2 years, I've grown businesses by double, triple, and quadruple, and in industries that aren't actually even growing. So a couple of sales recruiters, one was a sales recruiter, one was recruiting lawyers, right? That was a really interesting one. But we grew their business by double and triple. And then, so that was in 2020. In 2021, the recruiter's business, we doubled his business again. Now, I own a website business called Dance Monkey. We built his website, and that website got him another $500,000 client. So we've actually been growing businesses like crazy. My own business, which is Dance Monkey, we have actually taken what we wanted as our annual for the year, and we now have that as our monthly income. And we haven't actually even done a tremendous amount of marketing. Most people wouldn't even know who we are yet at this point, but we've been able to grow very, very well. So I'm very, very lucky with that. But it's all based on adding the strategies that I'm going to show you into your business. And that's how we run our business. So let me just get this. So it's in full screen. Okay, great. All right, so let's start here. So if you look at any business, I don't care what business it is, think about your own business primarily. But there's only 4 things that really make up a business. All the other elements actually come off of these 4, right? So you've got your sales. Off of sales comes customer service or call centers, or anything to do with selling. Off of products comes operations, and off of operations you can also have service off the back end of that. So you can see that off of the 4 of these, that actually is what you run a business with. And you might think that there's some other parts that you need to add into that. But if you don't have these 4 pieces going very, very well, number one, you're not growing. So you don't need operations. Finance probably doesn't have to be a big group of people either then, but then you're not actually making very good sales. So a lot of times businesses will put the blame on, oh, I don't know how to sell, or we don't have a good sales teams. But I can't tell you how many times I've gone into a business to find flaws in the products, flaws in the process, and flaws in the marketing. And those 3 things can cause sales a whole heck of a lot of problem. So when you're thinking about selling more, you also have to think about those other 3. And we're not going to go into those very deep today, but I am going to show you how you can actually start to think about them so that you can actually make sure that it is sales technique or strategy that you need, and it's not process marketing or products. Does that make sense? Yes? Cool. So here's the first thing that I want to talk to you about. Small businesses have a tendency to get blinders on, and they don't understand how to actually set up their target markets as a plural. So what they do is every time they get a new product or every time they add a new service, they start looking for a different target market. And what's a much better way to play is to make sure that you have about 70% of your sales are coming in on a sweet spot. Now, a sweet spot is a couple of different things. I'm going to talk about how you have a product sweet spot, but there's also a marketing sweet spot so that you're actually getting to this target market that's going to buy the product the way you're selling it, right? And a lot of people actually have a tendency to do shotgun. Probably some of the worst shotgun marketing is to use things like social media marketing, things like using AdWords, things like even trying to use PR, which Jules knows tons about. But if you do all of that and you do it haphazardly and you're not really putting time and attention into it, you're probably doing more of a shotgun with it than you are doing a laser beam focus with it. So every time I go in to look at a business, I'm always looking to see how have you created and understood the sweet spot of your targets, right? And when you look at, it says 20% strategic. A strategic product is something where you have to customize it, or you have to tweak it, or you have to make it a little bit different for a client, whether you have to dumb it down or you have to beef it up, right? You would only do that and come outside of your sweet spot if it was going to be strategic. And so that's a really important part. The 10% emerging is something that most small businesses don't even think about because they don't give themselves the mind space. And they never look for potential niches. They never look for potential new places where they can take their product and they could get it into a new market and actually score a brand new business within that niche. I've seen people turn emerging markets into their whole sweet spot, just simply from making sure that they're keeping their eye on that. So there's a really simple way to look for emerging markets. One of the things that I love doing, and I learned this technique from one of my mentors, his name was Dan Sullivan. His name is Dan Sullivan, actually. So still around. But Dan Sullivan taught us to make sure that every day that we are looking at least 7 to 8 different periodicals, whether it was newspapers or you were looking in just different areas of marketing. So whatever industry you're in, you don't look in those industries. You can have one of the periodicals that you're looking in your industry, but the other 7 or 8 should actually be in complementary markets so that you can actually start to watch and find new potential clients. Right?
JJ, can I just interrupt and ask you to define what do you define? How would you define a sweet spot market?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go to the sweet spot in a minute so we can get into that a little bit better. But strategic clients are, let me put it this way. A lot of small businesses have a tendency to try and find the biggest possible client that they can. And when you find a humongous client, like I know a lot of people who want to get there, if they've got a smaller product or a retail product, want to get it into some of the bigger retail chains. But what they don't understand is if you got your product into that retail chain, they're going to take up a tremendous amount of your time and you're going to get very little profit back for your efforts in that kind of a market. So if you're looking at strategic clients, that would not be a good way to go. You'd actually be better off if you had a retail product and taking it and getting it into smaller chains, right? Getting it into 2 or 3 smaller chains. And your sweet spot might be all the individual retail stores who could actually carry that product, okay? And so when you're looking for a strategic client, it should be just that, strategic. It means that you're probably not going to get as high a level of profit out of it But you should be getting something back in return. And I'm going to show you what I mean by something back in return in a minute. But you want to make sure that you're looking at your database this way so that you have 70% sweet spot people who buy your product. You know it works there. You know that market will keep buying. You've figured out how to keep that target market growing and keep it happy with minimum amount of marketing dollars, so that as you keep marketing into it, it's producing more profit for less dollars put into that market. Okay. Strategic clients, you really do not want more than 20% of your total business being with a strategic client, because it can really drain a small business's resources. It sounds prestigious, but it can actually be detrimental. So you need to be very careful when you're looking at that. But that's one of the first things that I look at, is to find out if the business actually understands what their target markets are from this perspective, right? So I don't care about the demographics and all that, that's a marketing conversation, but this is a sales conversation, right? Because if my salespeople, or if I'm doing sales and going outside of these three areas, well, I'm actually doing myself a disservice, because I'm not actually creating the type of focus and the type of potential income that's actually available when you focus through your target markets this way. Here's the only three ways you can grow a business. And I didn't create this. I worked with a gentleman named Jay Abraham. And if you don't know Jay, you need to take a look at Jay, because he's been around a long time. He's a marketing guru. He is phenomenal. I actually ran call centers for him. I've actually trained groups of people in California, London, and he's the one who originally brought me over to Australia to start teaching seminars. And this is what I learned from him, that there are absolutely only three ways to grow a business. There are thousands of strategies, thousands of techniques you can use to actually achieve these. But remember, we're talking about creating a sales business and being able to measure that sales business, so that when we get to a point where we plateau a little bit, we know how to actually boost it very quickly, very easily. We know the type of things to be thinking through. So here they are. Number one, which is obvious, is to increase the number of customers who are buying from you. And that doesn't mean taking on everyone, as you're going to see shortly. It means making sure that you're getting the right type of customers on, but that you're getting really good numbers of people buying from you. And that should actually be only about 40 to 50% of what you're doing to create your income. If you're always looking for new clients, I can guarantee you these other two parts you're not doing in your business, and you're actually shooting yourself in the foot. So the second one is increase the frequency or increase the value of the purchases per customer. So that's why I asked the question, what's your average upsell? Do you know that most people actually miss that? They miss the opportunity to upsell. What's even worse is most businesses don't even have an upsell or a cross-sell to offer when someone buys their product or their service. And when you don't have that, you're actually, keeping your profit in check. You're not giving yourself a way to be able to grow with every single sale that you make. So how important is having an upsell and a cross-sell? When I ran a 300-seat call center, we had over 25 different products. They ranged from $99 to $35,000. And we made sure that every single one of those products had upsells and cross-sells that we could use. Now, our sales team got so good at it that what we did was we were able to create a way for every single person in our sales team to be able to make more money. And what we did, though, was we also increased the profit of our business. And this is what we did. We paid for every single sale that they took a flat $5, not even kidding, $5 to get the primary sale. But we paid them 35 to 50% of the profit on every upsell that they made. right? So the average person in our call center went from making $40,000 a year to an average of $65,000 a year, simply because they got really good at making sure that their initial sale was nice and solid, and then they started their upsell and cross-sell pitch. Obviously, your products have got to be very much in tune, very much in sync for you to be able to upsell and cross-sell that easily. But if you don't have an upsell and cross-sell, it's actually pretty easy to get one. You know, a lot of people who've got products that would work very well along with your own product or service. And all you need to do is ask them, and you can make sure that you can buy it where they're making about 10% profit and you get the other 90% profit. It's a great way to do an upsell and cross-sell. Here's the third way that you can grow a business: to increase the number of customers providing utility value. Now, most people don't understand what utility value is, but most people treat utility value like it doesn't really exist. And utility value is where you can get referrals from a customer, right? And a lot of people who have small business will be like, oh, I get referrals. Well, do you know how many referrals you get per month? Do you know how many you get every single month? Do you know how many you get annually? Is this a common way for you to be able to grow your business? And if it is, again, if you look at this here, you can see it's only one of the three ways that you should actually be getting your leads and getting your sales. But here's the other thing. There are people in your database who are never going to go past buying from you one time. And they may not be able to make referrals to you, but they may be able to give you products. They may be able to help you, find new resources. They may be able to help you to do something within your business that doesn't cost you a lot. So there's a lot of reciprocal work that can actually happen. So utility value is something that sits in the background that we don't really see as important. But when you start to think about all the costs you have in your business, and you start to think about, hey, if I ask this person or this client if they could help me in that area, you might actually find ways to be able to not pay for different things, not pay for softwares, not pay for maintenance, not pay for design work. There's a lot of different things that you can do where you can do trades and networking as well as get referrals. But you want to find and make sure that those three things are really serving you very well and helping you to grow your business. Does that make sense? Here's the most interesting statistic I saw when I was looking at doing all the consulting. Almost 80% of the databases that we looked at when we were talking to small and medium businesses, I would tell you a third of them were actually on an Excel spreadsheet, right? Very few small businesses are using a CRM because they don't think that they need a CRM until they get bigger. When in fact, that means that you actually don't know your database. You don't know who's active. You don't know who opens emails when you send them to them. You don't know anyone that's in your sales process, where specifically they're at in the sales process, which stage, or how many people you've got in it, or what that stage is currently worth in terms of dollars. And the most horrifying statistic that I saw was that out of all the databases, 79.2% of all the databases we looked at only sold to their customers one time. One. That's it. And my point is, if you went back, if you had your database either written down or in a CRM, and you went back to your client base a second time and were able to make a sale, number one, it's going to be a whole heck of a lot easier, right? Number two, it means that it's going to be much more profitable. It'll be a lot faster sales process, right? And it's so easy to be able to do that versus go look for new clients all the time. So this is the way that I look at it. If you're going out into the market and you're doing marketing, right, that's the ocean. But your database is like a swimming pool. So what you want to do is go to your swimming pool and find out who's in it. right? And get all the bad people out, but make sure that the people who are in it, they know you, they like you like them, you want to work with them, they'll buy from you, not once, not twice. But if you can get them on a continuity program or a frequency of buying plan, that's going to serve you so well. I can tell you I've double and triple businesses with that one piece alone. So when I was running one of my call centers that I ran, we were working with an infomercial company, and they didn't have an upsell, they didn't have a cross sell. And I said, well, you know, I can actually find someone for you. Do you want one? They're all like, oh, no, we're making enough money off the product we're selling. And I said, okay, well, if I find a product that would go very well with it and you approve it, could we actually market it on the back end of it and pay you 10% of everything we make? They're like, oh my God, yes. So the product happened to be called, it had chitosan in it. It was a fat catching supplement. So I was very much into supplements at that time. And so I created a protein powder, a multivitamin, an omega-3, and we had like a fat burning supplement, not the fat catching. And we sold it on the back end. Well, we were selling 70% of the people who were calling in. So I'm paying him 10% of almost $40,000 a month that we were making on the back end of that. And he wanted nothing to do with it. I agreed to continue to pay him the 10%. And here's what I did with it. We took and we put those people on a continuity plan so that it renewed to them and sent them the supplements again every single month. The average person stayed on with us for 6 months. Right. So you can figure it out for yourself. 6 months times, the $40,000 a month is really good income. And I only had to give out 10% to keep that going. Now that database, we actually turned around and sold that database for $500,000 to a supplement company. So in both ways, it worked out very well because I did not want a standalone supplement company. But you get the idea that if you start to really realize that these are the 3 ways to grow any business and your business, any business and your business, you'll actually start to come up with some brand new ideas, and you can think through each one of them. You don't need original ideas. You can use synthetic thinking, which is taking 2 things that don't look like they go together and finding a way to make them work, right? That's a great way to play. Here's the third thing. If I want to sell better and I've got great products and my processes are good and I'm doing marketing, didn't say you were doing marketing good, but you're doing marketing, you have to take a look at what kind of prospects you're actually getting. Because a lot of times people think that they don't know how to sell. People think that their product must be bad. People think that, the marketing must be off. And in most cases, in this instance, if I'm getting D or F quality prospects, then my marketing's not doing the right job. I'm not getting my message across. But here's the thing. If you're getting D and F prospects, you're not going to be able to grow them. And you're only going to end up selling a certain percentage of them. So what you've got to do is you've got to actually ask yourself, what are C prospects, B prospects, A prospects, and double A prospects? Now, how you actually do this is you take your current client base and you start to think, who would be a double A? Who do you absolutely love to work with? Who would you like to get 100 more of if you could, right? And you then have to figure out and write down exactly what they do that makes them such a good double A prospect. Then you just work it backwards. Who's your A's and who's your B's and who's your C's? C's are usually someone that they're good. And if you're not able to grow them, if you don't think you could grow them into a B-type prospect, now remember, you've actually gone under here and detailed out what each of those are. So I know a C prospect, part of what that needs to be a great C is that I could see being able to grow them into a B-level client. If I can't see the ability to do that, then they're probably not a good C prospect, and they'll probably end up going out of my database and back into the D or F prospects. But I'm always looking to make sure that I'm matching my clients to my descriptions of what a great client is within my database. So this year, with my Dance Monkey design business, I've actually fired 2 clients, and they're $10,000 a piece. But when we have something, we put it directly into our agreement that if we're working with someone and they take over 90 days to do the content, when I can actually build all the content and get everything prepped for 80% of my clients in less than 3 weeks, and they're still not at that point in 3 months, I let them go and I give them their money back, right? Because otherwise it taints the rest of your customers, it taints the rest of your prospects. And so this becomes really, really important. And if you're hiring in a salesperson, what you really want to be able to do is show them these descriptions so that when they're sitting in front of somebody that they're selling to, they can actually understand, do I have an A, B, C, or double A prospect sitting in front of me, right? So that they can actually determine how to have that conversation, how they can talk to them about, yes, right now you might be here at a C level, but here's where I can see growing you to, or here's where I can see growing you to in the next 2 months, 5 months, 9 months, 13 months, whatever it happens to be. But if you think about just the last 3 things we've talked about, if you looked at your business through these 3 lenses right now, you would have a better idea as to who you could pick up the phone and call right now and make a sale. Or you might pick up the phone and call a couple people and say, I'm sorry, you know what, we just can't do business anymore. You're a C prospect. So it's interesting what the response that you get when you tell somebody that they're a C prospect and you tell them what that means. It's interesting. Some people will actually step up and actually grow into a B very, very quickly, and others will actually step out and walk away. But it's sort of what you wanted anyway, because you wanted to make sure that you were actually running a good, solid business that becomes a little bit more automated. And also, remember the phrase, birds of a feather flock together, right? So that's what's really good about having a database like this, is you can go to them and you can ask them for referrals, and you get a much better idea of who you're going to get when you ask them about referring you someone. I've got one client who has referred me 2 people. We just finished her website, and her website's going gangbusters, but she's actually sent me 2 new people, and both of them were just like her. They were go-getters. They were, really hungry to get things done. They really had an idea of what they wanted and how they wanted to grow their business. But at the same time, they were very open to new ideas. So the last 3 slides were about growing your sales business and giving you lenses to look at the business through so that you've got a really good sales environment. Here's the last thing I'm going to say about looking at it and giving you some lenses. When we started building websites, I made it mandatory that whether the company that we were dealing with had a CRM, or we added MailChimp, right? Dance Monkey MailChimp, ha ha ha. We added MailChimp onto the website. Why? Because if you've got a website and you don't have a CRM built into it, take the frickin' thing down, because you're not doing yourself any favors and you're not catching any of the business. But here's the thing. There's a marketing CRM and there's a sales CRM. I use Zoho because it's actually both. I can do campaigns, but I also can see everything in my sales, right? And so if you see here, these are all the different stages that a client can be at. And I want to know how many are in each part of my funnel so that I can actually know who to follow up with. Some of these phone calls, especially when they're near the bottom of the funnel, if I don't see them closing and I'm 5 days away from the end of the month, you can best believe that those 10 or 15 people, I'm on the phone with them and I know where they're at, why they're not buying, what's actually impeding on us being able to get the sale, what I might be able to do to get it across the line, right? So I make sure that I use this so that I know exactly what to do with my sales and I don't miss sales targets. From using all these tools, Our business, like I said, has actually grown tremendously. We're getting to the point where I'm about to, in the next 3 months, we're hiring on a CEO to run the business and just handle all those markets so that I can stay just doing sales. I love doing sales that much. But all these tools allow us to be able to bring in really good people. And even with somebody running the business, I'll be able to know exactly what's going on with it because this is fully automated. I'll tell you one more thing that's really cool about when you set up your system. I can do my entire sales process from my phone now because I've got it automated. Everything from the NDA through to the agreement, through to our payment structure. We have folders in it so we can get all of our clients' content in it, and it just manages all the way through the process. So it's really important that you find a way, whatever CRM you decide to choose, is really, really important to have for your business. It gives you a central place for your database. And if you do have other salespeople working with you, the nice part is you can actually measure your sales as a group and then also individually, which becomes really important. So you can see who you need to train or how you need to help them. And it gives you a way to keep in touch with all your clients as well. Excuse me. So we've talked about what you should be looking at. This is my structure that I use, not only in my business, but like I said, I've done a lot of sales training, especially in small and medium businesses. And I always implement a 12-week sales strategy. Sales now, sales next, sales later. Sales later means the last 30 days. Sales next is in 60 days, right? And sales now is really focusing on this 30 days currently. So what's important about doing this is you don't just think about what you're going to do with it. You should have a sales now list. If there's not 20 people on your list, I can tell you right now, you're probably going to miss your target. And here's what's important about it. This is the equation that I use. If I know how many sales I need to close this month, times it by 3, and that is the number of prospects that you need. And if you've got that 3 times prospect equation down, sometimes 4 times, depending on what type of selling you're doing. But if you've got 3 to 4 times the prospects, then you need to actually make the sales you're looking for. You'll either hit or exceed your target each month. The nice part about that is, let's say that I need 3, I've got 10, I close my 3, and the other ones don't close in that month. Guess what I do? I move them over to my sales next list, and guess where they sit? At the top of my sales next list. But is that my only list for my sales next? No, I should actually already have 20 going in there. And I should already have 20 going in my sales later list as well. And I want to make sure that I've got 3 lists. And even if I have to add to them, month to month, carrying them over, at least I know I've got more prospects than I need, and at least I know that I've got every opportunity to hit my sales targets if I can focus on them in that way. Okay. So if you're looking at that 90 days, you have to understand that you've got to break it down to what you do with your time in a week. And this is exactly what my schedule looks like. Mondays are my prep days. I don't do any selling on Mondays. Mondays, I'm recording podcasts. Mondays, I'm actually working on with my business partner. We do our prep meeting for the week, so we know what's going on in the tech side. I know how many clients that I'm meeting with Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so that we're working on their content, or I'm actually working on potential new clients coming in. I always know exactly what's going on because we plan that out for our entire business on Monday. So, and that means everybody from our business, all of our builders come on, our content and copywriters come on to it, and everybody's talking about what they need to get done this week. The whole idea of the prep day is to make sure that by Friday, when I'm getting ready to set up my plan again for the following week, that I know exactly what's been accomplished and everybody's actually gotten their report in, and we know we didn't miss any of the deadlines and none of our clients got left behind. Okay. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are my money days. My business partner, I was telling Jules earlier, my business partner, when we first started working together, would call me on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays. And I finally told him, I said, will you leave me the hell alone? And he's like, what are you talking about? We're business partners. I said, I know, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is my money day. And money day means that I need to be in front of prospects or in front of current clients so that we actually keep the funnel moving along. And now he doesn't bother me during those days anymore, which is really good. My Friday is my plan day. So I only work until noon on Friday, and on Friday I get my report done. I gather the reports from everyone else. I make sure that I put them in the plan. I see, where we've had client tickets come in. I see where we've had new prospects come in. I make sure that I can show the team in our CRM exactly where we're at and exactly what needs to be done then the following week. The beauty of being able to do that on Friday is that my Saturday and my Sunday, most times I turn off the phone, so I don't have to be bothered then. And it's a really nice way to play because then it's not on my mind. I've gotten everything out of my head. And my team knows that on Monday, when we actually get together to do our prep meeting, they count on me to have actually done all of this and talk about the reports, what we've missed, what's working, and just make sure that it's actually done. So that's what my week actually looks like. And if you don't have a plan for your week and you're taking sales meetings everywhere, I think you probably have experienced some of this. All kinds of other things start to drop through, the holes in the funnel, right? Because we're trying to do sales all over the place because we see it as important. But my clients actually are really good. When I tell them I only do Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays, and that's my sales days, people are most accommodating to work with you during those time frames. And if you don't have a day for prepping your stuff and getting things ready for the rest of the week so it flows smoothly, it just never flows smoothly. So this is what my day looks like. I have 2 days in a day. I have an essentials day, and then I have a potentials day. So my essentials is I get everything done that's going to make me money right now. And that's what I call essential, something that's going to get me a sale, something that's going to get me some type of reward right this very minute that has to be taken care of. And I don't do anything until those are done. Then I've got a list of things that are potential that can actually create new business for us, could create more ease. So Monday afternoon, for example, when I'm done with my meetings and my essentials, Monday afternoons is when I'm shooting my podcasts, when I'm doing my blogging, when I'm doing any type of product reviews that I'm doing. And that's the only day that I do it, right? My potentials on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are getting done everything that's happened with my clients so that I can make sure that that potential of them coming on as a client or that potential of their project working very well is 100% taken care of. And that's what my afternoons look like. Friday afternoon, my potentials is drinking beer. So my business partner and I, he's a business. He's a beer and a tequila aficionado. So lots of times he takes us out to independent breweries, or we'll have a bunch of tequilas, which is really kind of a fun way to end the week, right? But that's a potential, right? It's a potential for danger. But we have a good time with that. But if you don't have a schedule, and this is my point, if you're doing the selling in your business, let's face it, you've got so many other things to do in your small business that you could actually make Tuesday or Wednesday and Thursday your money days. And actually, if you need 2 prep days and 1 plan day, make sure that you actually plan it out so that you're not having to think about this 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, right? And this helps a lot. Now, when I've trained sales teams to do this, this is when we start to get results. This is where you gain traction. Because if you've got 2 people or 3 people or 5 people working for you, and they're all on this exact same schedule, they start to push each other. And one of the things that I will typically do if I've got a team is I make it so there's a team a team reward, basically, right, for them to get to. So it's a small percentage of all the sales for the month gets split across the team. And if you miss your goal, right, because you were futzing around and didn't have your money days well, then the rest of the team really starts to push on that person, on each other, and it becomes a little bit of a competition. But it's a very strong, and positive competition that helps to be able to move you forward. So whether you're an individual or you've got a team, make sure you know when you're going to be planning to win, planning to sell, planning to prep, and when you're going to do your reporting. This is kind of a strange one, but this also comes out to be about your product with your sweet spot. Jewel and I were talking about this morning. Too many people have got too many options, and people will make no decision if you've got too many options, the same as they would if they don't like your single option. So one of the things I always suggest to people is measure what people are buying from you. And I'm going to show you exactly how to use it in a minute. But I want to make sure that you understand, if you've got 3 options, you've got your highest level, you've got your medium level, and then you've got your low level. If you take a look at the profit on those 3 levels of your products, what you're going to find, or services, what you're going to find is that if you're always selling into the lowest package, you probably have the lowest amount of profit. And then you've actually got to really work hard to make the month work. But if you are selling your middle level product, for example, and you could make sure that it had more profit in it, again, it gets easier, and more people are going to buy your mid-tier product than they are going to buy your highest level product anyway. So you want to be able to understand what it looks like. For most businesses, this is actually how it splits out. 80% of the people will buy your mid-level product, 10% will buy your highest level, 10% will buy your lowest level. Now, for some businesses, these 2 bottom numbers, your silver and your gold, this is more like 60 and this is more like 30%. And that comes down to the type of prospects you're getting and the way that you're actually selling to people. So that's really important that you understand how you're actually pitching this products. You know what's really interesting? Most people, when they hear that 80% of the people you're selling to buy your gold level product, you'll get such a big percentage of them to move up from the silver package. And you may actually lose some people from buying the highest level product. But the most interesting thing is that most people get more satisfaction out of that product where the majority of people are buying, because companies usually put the most attention on delivering that with the most excellence. And so it's really important to understand what products are people buying from you. If you don't know and you've got too many of them, you may be losing people making a decision because they just can't make a decision. It's not a very good human skill anymore. If you think about it, people don't make good decisions anymore. So I'm not sure they ever did. That's a topic for discussion. So this is probably one of the most important things you can do for yourself. This is how you actually make sure that you never have to sell again. And this is called your sales playbook. And when you have a sales playbook like this, what you're going to understand from this is that you now get to choose your clients, right? Just like what I showed you in the database with your different levels of prospects. But this is how you actually make your decisions about them, right? If you look at and went down and wrote down all of your rejections and problems that you have during a sale, or that a client has with your product or service, what you'd actually get is a really good list, and you would never be surprised again, ever. You'd never be surprised when someone rejects your product or has a problem with it. You'll never be surprised if someone gives you an objection. If you don't know the top 5 universal objections and your answers to them, you're missing out. So let me tell you what I mean by that. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I need to think about it. I need more information. I need to talk to someone. Those are the top 5 universal objections that every single business hears. But I can tell you, very few people have sat down and written out their answers for those. And if you don't have your answers to those top 5, and I'll repeat them for you. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I need to think about it. I need more information. I need to talk to someone. So if you don't have the answers to those 5, you're probably missing out, because a lot of times those objections are also used as stalls. Now, we don't think customers are very smart, and most customers will say they don't really like sales, but damn, they're good at objections and stalls. You know what I mean? They actually know how to actually get out of a sale. So here's what you do. Study the people that are trying to get out of your sale. Study the people that you want to have in your database, right? When I tell people to write down the most common questions, most people want to write down just the questions that you are going to ask them to qualify them. But that's not the ones that actually surprise you. The ones that surprise you are the questions that people ask you all the time that you've actually never gotten your set answers to. And you want to make sure that you're trying to get as consistent as possible. So write down the questions you need to ask them, but make sure that you write down the questions that people are going to ask you on a regular basis and turn those into FAQs. So I'll give you an example. On our website, what I did was I found the 60 top questions that people ask about building a website. And I created all the answers for them. So if you go onto our website, what you're going to find is right now they're adding on to the list because we just redid our website. But right now there's still 23 of them up there, and the other 40 are coming. So why did I do that? Because I wanted to make sure that people knew we've heard this enough times. We know what you want to know. And so we give them a really good answer. Is it always what people want to hear? No. But that's not my job. My job isn't to get everybody in, it's to get the best ones in, right? Here's the next one. You need to know what people's needs are and what their wants are. So if someone's got a need, you have to figure out, are they acting out of inspiration or are they acting out of desperation? Because if someone has a need and they're like, I've got to do this, I've got to have it, that can turn into buyer's remorse very, very quickly. And so you want to make sure that you understand not only what their needs are, but if you met their needs, what do they then want your product or service to do for them? So this way you've got 2 ways to be able to talk to them about the product or service, making sure that you meet their needs now, right? But that you actually are meeting their wants as they go forward, and you're helping them to understand how this is going to work on an ongoing basis. These are really simple, and I'm sure you probably know these, but why people buy and why people don't buy. You know, everybody thinks that there's like tons of reasons why people don't buy and why they do buy. And for any product, there are only a handful of reasons why people don't buy and a handful of reasons why they do. And when you know the answers from rejections to objections to the questions to the needs and wants, why people buy and why they don't buy, you get to a point that we call saturation. And what that means is that you are not surprised by anything after a while because you know everything that they're going to say. They say it and you almost get a little smile on your face because you're like, I know the answer to this one, right? But what you want to do is make sure that you know them all so that you can actually write them down and be able to use them. And when you're ready to hire a sales team, or if you've got a sales team, you train them to say the exact same things so that there's this consistency going on. This is what makes sales extremely measurable. And that is so important that you actually get to a measurable level. The next 2 are emotional and logical rebuttals. Most people have no idea what the difference is, right? So they just go blah, and they give a rebuttal to somebody's objection. Logical rebuttals are, I can give statistics, I can give numbers, And if I can show in a graph, or I can show that other people are doing this, then what happens is I actually take and get them on side by using logic to help me to be able to close the deal. Emotional rebuttals are, everybody wants to give a case study. Case studies are more emotional. They can be logical as well, depending on how you do it. And again, I'll give you our website address. If you look at our case studies, CASE is an acronym for how we teach our clients to write better case studies. And what's important about that is that it becomes very emotional because it's hitting on whatever their pain point is or what's going on in their mind, but it logically takes them through the process of what we did with that client that we worked with, and gives them a way to see how they can actually get through that pain point as well and make a good decision to hire us. Stats are really important. If you don't have statistics about, the number of people that buy. So for example, when I'm talking to people about websites, they want to know if we do responsive websites. Everybody should actually make sure that their website is responsive, that it shows up on a phone. And here's the reason why. 69% of all sales that are made on the internet are actually made across a mobile phone or a smartphone. And when people hear that, they start to understand the importance of getting their responsive website set up. It's really important. The next one is third-party stories. So I want to introduce you. This is my friend, okay? So, and my friend here is who I want to talk about me to the person that I'm selling. So why do I actually use my friend here? Because if you're in a sales situation and you're talking to someone, you might have the best story in the world to tell them that would close someone. But what I want to do is, if I say, I did this and I did that, it's still one-to-one. So if I use my third party and I say, you know what, Jules, this woman came to me and she was actually, her name was Pollyanna. And Pollyanna she was actually talking to me and she said, oh, we just can't do this. And she was giving me all the reasons why she couldn't actually go ahead and build her new website. And I had to agree with her. She had some really good points. So I actually agree with her. I can understand that those are really good points. But let me ask you this. And I went through a series of questions with her. And you know what's really interesting, Jules? By the time we got done talking, she turned around and said to me, you know what? I think that I actually need to do this because. Now, the interesting thing is, if I said the story just from me to her, it probably wouldn't have the same type of impact as if I was using somebody else's name and talking about what they did in that situation. So you can see that if you build a sales playbook like this, you won't be surprised. And this is the problem with selling. This is why a lot of people don't feel like they can sell well, is because they're still being surprised by things you should not be surprised by anymore. And so building your sales playbook is a really solid way to make sure that you have got all those things in mind. And it teaches you to qualify your prospects. It reduces the amount of time you spend presenting. And you actually get a higher level of close then when you're talking to real prospects versus D's and F's. I put this one in here because it's a really simple one, but one of my best mentors, Michael, actually took me through this when I started working with him, because my budget for the quarter was $5 million, right? And it was the first time I'd ever had that big of a quota for a quarter. And he said to me, he goes, that probably seems humongous, but here's what I wanted to show you. If I had a whole pizza and I have to sell it within the quarter, the question that he asked me is, where could you sell to one person the whole pizza? And I was like, you mean sell the whole $5 million to one person? He's like, yes. Where could you do that? I said, oh, I don't know that I could actually do that yet at this point. He said, okay, great, not a problem. Where could you cut the pizza in half and sell 2 of them, right? And all of a sudden, I started to get it. I started to get the idea. I was thinking too small about what I could and couldn't sell. Who would buy what from me? So I was thinking that if I was selling a service, I was only selling one, right? And at this time, this was when I was working with the Robbins group and just learning about how to sell them. And so I was selling to individuals, getting them to come to the different events, right? And our events at that time were $16,000 for somebody to come into the event. And after going through this exercise, I started going to companies instead of going to individuals. And I started selling 10, 15, 20, 30, 40. The best that I've ever sold was 1,100 packages at $16,000 a pop into an international corporation. And they sent their people to all the different events around the globe. So the idea here is if you want bigger sales, you've got to start to think in bigger numbers. Where can I sell? If you know your monthly, right? Like I saw somebody said they wanted to sell $50,000 of people into their event. Who could buy the whole $50,000 right now? Who could actually, if you couldn't do that, who do you know two people that could buy $25,000, right? Or do you know three who could buy $30,000 a piece? You see what I mean? And you start to actually start at the biggest number to find the best possible customers who can actually help you to achieve your month, your quarter, and your year. This one strategy alone can take and do exactly what I said and turn your annual into your quarterly income. Because if you were able to find the 1, the 2, the 3 people who could actually solve your quota for the month or the quarter, everything else becomes icing on the cake. And it's a really neat little trick to do. It takes a little bit of mind to sit down and start to think through your prospects in this way, but it's a brilliant way to start to make sure that you think in terms of bigger sales and you can break through your sales ceiling when you do that. This is probably one of my favorite techniques. It's called the Batman, obviously. But here's what it means. So I showed you that you should have 3 products. So in first place here, I always put my highest level product, my platinum. Here at number 2, I put my gold, right? And here at number 3, I put my platinum. Now, platinum is the lowest that I want to sell. I do not want to sell below that. And you see how it's got the line through it and the line and the circle around it? This is to remind me that I don't want to be selling those. That is the least amount that I want to be selling. So I actually give myself a footnote by reminding myself constantly that that's not where I want to be. So when I'm sitting with a client, I take and I start at the highest level product that we have. And then I write down and tell them all about our middle level product. And then I write down and tell them all about our lowest level product. And you might be like, well, that's an awful lot to talk through. But here's the thing. Those are my only 3 products. Those are my only 3 levels. And I want them to make a good decision. So what do I do with that? I let them know how many people buy at which level. Okay. So I tell them 10% of the people that we actually work with consistently buy our top package. 80% of the people actually end up buying our middle level package. And the reason that they do that is, and I give them the reasons why people buy that over and over and over and over again. And I do this very purposefully, and you'll see why in a second. Then I explain the lowest level package, and I explain that there's 10% of our clients who just can't see using everything that's in the middle package or the highest package. And this is the package that they end up buying, but that's only 10% of our clients. Now you notice that there's a 4 and a 5 on here. So what are those for? Let's say that somebody says they're going to take the second level highest package, right? What I want to do now is I don't have to talk about 3 anymore. I come across to 4. And I start talking to them about going into the highest level package. And why do I do that? I do it for 2 reasons. One, to make sure that the middle level package is 100% going to work for them, right? and to re-explain the benefits after exploring a little bit more about what they need to see if they can upsell, right? So I'm always trying to get them back to that highest level on the other wing, okay? So let's say that I've got somebody who's looking at the lowest possible package that I have. I have to do the exact same thing. I explain to them everything about the second package again, and we look to see how many more people we can get to that level. So let me tell you, like I said, people buy 10% of package number 1, 80% of package number 2, and 10% of package number 3. And that's just at first sight. But when we started teaching people how to do this so that they use the upsell and cross-sell pattern on the other side of the wing, guess is what happened. 15% ended up buying the higher level package. 85% take the middle level package. We don't end up selling any of the low level packages. Why? Because we show them the benefits. We give them the choice so that they feel like they've got the choice. But then what we do is explore with them and let them tell us why this would be a much better package. And we work out then the financing or whatever else we need to do to get them to do this. And we show businesses that are really growing why this is a much better package and how it gives them exactly what they want. But again, it becomes their choice. And the interesting thing is everyone wants the best for themselves. So you see people will actually give themselves the benefit of the higher packages when you actually explain it to them and give them what looks like they have choice all the way through the process. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. And
I'm busy saying yes in the background. It's amazing. I'm loving this.
but that is actually where I finished. And I'll tell you why. Because if you go through and you were to actually look at your business from this perspective, look at your target market, if you were to understand and study how you're using these 3 ways to grow your business and thinking through them consistently, if you really look at your database and figure out what you want from each of your level of your prospects, if you actually use something to automate your reporting for your sales, if you actually start to work on making sure that you're working every 90 days on your sales plan, and that you've got a plan for your week that lets you really be able to do sales and still manage the rest of your business, you've got a lot on your plate. So, and then again, looking at your products and figuring out which are your best products and giving yourself some score around that is really, really important. I can't stress enough, if you don't have a sales playbook, get one of those 5 divided notebooks and start to build it, because it will absolutely make a difference for you. And then these techniques for getting bigger sales and doing better sales, those are really just to help you, to be able to get some idea about how to sell more. If we had more time, I'd actually go in and show you how I break down and use what I call sales by numbers, and it's the method we use for building scripts. So, but those are the ideas that I most wanted to share with you today, because I wanted to give you a way to look at your business. How do you bring sales in? What are you really doing with your sales inside the business? And how are you actually using some techniques to be able to grow your sales?
You are amazing, JJ. It has been just fantastic. Now, I know that you have an offer that you wanted to talk about, and then I want to talk about that group thing. So let's do that, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Well, let's open it up to some questions, because really simply, if you don't have a CRM, we've got a couple of different CRM companies that we work with. And so one of the things is, they can be very costly to actually customize. They're usually $5,000 or more to customize them. So I talked to the guy that does Zoho for us, and he's working with a number of our clients right now. And I told him that I was going to be talking to you today. And if somebody wants a CRM, he'll actually give you a customized CRM, right? And it's $2,500 to customize it out, to make sure he helps you pull your database in, streamline, what your process looks like in your sales, and then show you how to use the campaign modules so that you can do marketing and you can manage your sales process. I absolutely love Zoho. If you have any questions about it, I'm happy to talk about that with you. I just would say, please, 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 if you've got a business and you're not using a CRM, do one of two things: get out of business, or get a CRM so that you can really manage that process, because you would not believe how having a turnkey sales process can make such a big difference to you.
Amazing. So I saw Pollyanna has already got Zoho but doesn't know how to use it properly. So maybe she could have a chat with you about a package or something where you can set it up. Now, the other thing, I said to JJ this morning, we went through this, crack of dawn this morning. Well, crack of dawn for me, which was 9 o'clock. And and one of the things I said to her is, I think at the end of this talk that we'll all want to work with her rather than go anywhere else. And she said, if there were 6 of us, she would take us through a 5-week course for $1,000 each. So I want to see if we can get together a group of 6 of us to do that with her. So if anyone is interested in that, maybe contact me, contact her. I'm not sure how you want to do it, but I reckon there might be 3 or 4 in this group, and then we just need a couple out of the Facebook group. But I just think that's an amazing offer, and we would learn so friggin' much. So I just wanted to say that as well.
Jules and I were talking, and yeah, the book is coming out, and the course hasn't been finalized because I just haven't been teaching sales in a while. I've been just doing it, with my own clients and in my own business. But, if there's some people that want to do that kind of course, we're going to go a lot more in depth into technique. What we're going to be doing is looking at each of your businesses and making sure we understand specifically what you need, not just talking in general about these type of strategies. So even if you're using something like a MailChimp, which is a free CRM, it'll at least get you a way to start to work through some of these things so that you can actually participate in the class. Because if you don't have a CRM, it's going to make it really difficult for you to be able to monitor and measure in this way. But I would absolutely adore and love to hang out with you guys and take you through some more of this if you're interested. Yeah.
Great. So look, if I've just had Carrie and Nikki have said they are, and Pollyanna.
Carrie.
If anybody else wants to, just chuck it in the text as we go. And now let's open it up for questions. What I might do is remove the pin. And then if you want to go into the sort of whole view, gallery, whatever, then you get to see everyone. Oh, hello, everyone. I could only see a couple of you.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anyone is interested, you don't have to commit now, but if you're interested in knowing more, stick it in the chat or send me a message or something, and I'll include you in some email, and we'll work out when we can get started.
Jules, do you want to, if somebody has a question, just let's come off mute like one at a time so that we can, because I want to make sure that we.
Yes. Okay. So if you have got a question, maybe put your hand up. The little icon thing to get your hand up. And we can start asking questions. Now, the only thing I'm very aware of is it's 11:22, 1:22. Sorry. So if anyone has meetings at 1:30, then put up your hand and wave at me now so that I know that you can't stick around. But
yeah, if not, I'm happy to stick around for a little bit.
Oh, great. Except I think, hang on, let me just double check what I'm doing after this, because I don't want to. No, that's all right. I'm fine until I've got to Zoom at 2, so you're okay in this one till 2. So let's start with Susan. Susan Jarvis, do you want to?
Hey, JJ, thank you very much for today.
How are you?
Really good. The gentleman that you mentioned who trained you, something Abraham?
Yeah, Jay Abraham.
Okay, I just didn't get the name before.
Is that J-A-Y or initial J?
No, J-A-Y.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
He's one of the kookiest characters you'll ever meet. The guy actually studies the thesaurus for fun. He's amazing, just absolutely amazing. I love him.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, Nikki, you're next.
Hello.
Hello.
That was a great presentation, JJ. Absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Just wanted to ask, like, I'm building a SaaS platform. So the whole upsell side of things.
We missed a what platform?
a SaaS. It's a service platform. So think like Kajabi,
Sure.
all that sort of stuff.
Handle your own PR. That's a SaaS platform too.
Yeah. so with respect to that, we're going into launch mode. So we haven't actually had any sales yet or anything like that, but we are preparing for, to create offers, like founders offers and things like that. But when you're mentioning like the upsell side of things, it's just trying to work out like, are things like an ebook something worth upselling, or is it more with that regard should be an extension to the capabilities of using the SaaS platform? Maybe.
Great question. So an ebook would be a downsell or something that you would use to actually get people in. I would never use that as an upsell. If you had a course for how to use the platform, that's a great upsell, and you can offer it at a discount. You have to make sure you create the value for the public, but then you actually give them an offer like, if you take our highest level package, it's included. If you take the middle level package, 50% off the training. Something like that. That's a great one. If you're using a platform, a lot of times, people want to. And this is the thing people are afraid of with software is it going to break down, right? So maintenance packages are actually a really good way to play. So like with ours, when you take our highest level website package, we actually include a year's worth of service and support, and we give them 3 months worth of marketing support, which means we give them 5 different reports, and we actually help them to work off of their website on 3 different marketing elements to grow their website business. And those kind of things, we know that if they go through and we know what this service and support does for them, it gives them peace of mind. But we also know that the average person uses less than 15 minutes a month. So it's really a no-brainer to give that away, right?
Yeah.
But then the marketing support, we give them 1 quarter and everybody signs up for the other 3. Right, because we make sure we give them good value and we make it easy for them to be able to use. So you want to make sure that whatever you're giving either makes sense to the brain, right? So it solves another pain point in the decision-making process, right? Or it gives them access to something that they, wouldn't get, like the training, right? Or something else that actually solves another problem. But that's usually what an upsell, cross-sell should do for you.
Okay, so because we were thinking of a migration offer, like a migration service, because if they're using Kajabi and they want to move to us.
Sure. I would be careful with that because your migration, having worked for and had a couple of major telcos, I actually used migration as a way to get them to pay a higher price. So we got them, instead of paying for it up front, we got them to pay over 12 months a bigger percentage on the database, right, that we were actually getting to keep. And so I would be careful. Some things can be very profitable, and if you give them away, you're actually cutting into your own profits. So you want to be really careful in what you choose.
Okay. Thank you, JJ.
You're welcome.
Great. Have we got any more questions, anyone? I've got 5 women on the list, including me, so far to do the course with JJ. So I reckon we'll be doing it. I'll put it out into the Facebook group and see if we have any more takers. And then let's do a She's the Boss sales, let's make the next 6 months amazing. And Annie, okay, we've now got 6.
I've got a question if no one else does.
Sure, go for it.
Thanks. I was just wondering whether in your businesses that are probably more face-to-face sales than digital, whether you've seen the way in which your customers engage with you are getting back to pre-COVID levels, in that people are comfortable engaging with you face-to-face, or have you seen a trend that has really shifted predominantly to digital and just generating that trust factor through a non-face-to-face means? And just for some context, I work in funds management, so I'm trying to convince people to invest their money with me, and doing that digitally, I just don't think that humans are built that way. I think it is a face-to-face, but that's just sort of our business model. So I was just curious from your point of view.
Such a great question. one of the things that I think is really important is, and this is why I like the sales playbook, and I write a lot of my stuff down, because what you can do face to face, you should be able to do over Zoom, or you should be able to do in writing, right? And it's not so much the sales technique. You hit the nail on the head, Lauren, and it's that people are still scared of COVID. People are still nervous about it. So, you're not going to get all of them coming back. I mean, look at how many people, even though it's not mandatory, are still wearing masks, right? It's absolutely incredible. And it just shows you the level of fear. I love jumping on the bus because the bus from here to the city is really easy. And I've been watching to see, it's a really good gauge to see how many people are still wearing masks. I'm seeing some people wearing 2 masks.
Right.
Because they're just that afraid. So my point being this, we're not going to get everybody back very quickly. We're not going to get them back easily. It's a matter of really stopping and thinking about what you do in your sales process. And I know yours is very numbers oriented, but there's a lot of information you could get from them and put it into a really nice report. And if you can make that work for you, then presenting it to them over Zoom could actually work very well. And because you can do it in stages. This is what I've seen people doing, is breaking up their sales process a little bit further, so that what they're doing is they've got their writing is very much in order, that when they get on Zoom, they're only doing a certain amount, because people can really do, you guys have got a lot of energy, but most people actually go 30, 35 minutes on Zoom and they're ready to get off, right? So you've got to actually learn to break it up into some more bite-sized pieces so that they trust you. Most important thing I've learned through COVID is to make sure that I take my time. Patience on your side will turn into trust on their side. And that has worked very, very well for me to be able to, because we're working on $20,000, $30,000 packages sometimes. And that's not an easy convince over Zoom. So I always tell people, you know what, take the information away, and when I'll give you a call back in the next couple of days, and we can answer all of your questions, and then we can actually progress it. If it takes a couple of calls, I do not mind, because through this time, people are way too scared to just jump into decisions. And economically, we're in a place where, funds and EFTs and crypto, everything just seems to be kind of falling apart right now. And so that's why I love the idea of using patience as my sales tool, because there's so many people in your industry, and them, that have zero patience. They're like, fuck this, I'm out of here. If they can't talk to me, and they get really pissed. But if you're the one who stays calm and methodical, you win.
And I think we've noticed that the way that we operated pre-COVID, during COVID, and post has been the same. So I haven't really seen. I've seen more business coming in because of the honestly, it's the patience. And look, I'm not a middle-aged white guy in a suit, so I have that competitive advantage. But I'm obviously only see it from a very limited perspective. So I was just curious. So thanks for sharing your insights.
Thank you.
Okay, I love that, Lauren. And maybe JJ should come to Think Tank and do a little course for you all. Sorry, JJ.
We have time for one more question.
We've got 2 more requests. Okay, and then that'll be the end of it. So Pollyanna and then Lulu. Pollyanna, off you go.
Hi, thanks. I'll be quick. I'm really curious and interested in sort of automation, which is where I'm in a sort of a bit of a Zoho spiral and twist at the moment. But
are you using Zoho?
Yeah, I'm using Zoho. Yeah.
Great.
my automation's taken on a life of its own. That's another conversation. I'm actually really keen to go from thinking about how we can use that automation, because at the moment I sell, I design, I deliver, and I'm looking at moving to probably getting a salesperson. I love talking to my customers. I love that process, but I'm interested in knowing how I can use automation to.
Oh my God, I missed it. This is what keeps happening.
Fielding, I have to field like all of us, we're generous souls. We want to help people, but the tipping balance point is a little skewed at the moment. So having more meaningful conversations resulting in sales and work, whilst you ring fence those, community service type, not-for-profit ones. So automation to have the meaningful conversations, that's what I'm really interested in. And I just see so many people doing it so badly. I mean, we're all on LinkedIn, right? It's just, some of it's hideous. There's a question in there.
So what do you design, deliver, and what do you do?
I'm in the leadership space. So, high performance, high impact teams, coaching background, but I work across individuals, teams, systems. So essentially how going into organizations, helping them create a place where people not only want to show up and be their best, they're given the skills and development so that they are able to stretch and grow. And very importantly, in a system that allows it to happen. Yeah, so it's across that individual to systems thinking and all the things you would expect around that. So I'm looking at growth strategy at the moment. Yeah.
This is a fun one for you then, because I use Zoho I can do, like I said, everything pretty much from my phone. So because we own the web design company, and even my coaching is done this way as well. So what I do is most of your stuff already designed and then you customize it a percentage, or is it
correct?
Full
yeah, everything. I've been doing this for 20 plus years because I'm that old, as my kids say. It's, yes, I know. Yeah. I can pick up programs. I constantly tweak and adapt as we do to match the changing times. But right. It's yes, and I've also during 2020 and 2020 I've developed, recorded my first online program, which sits on LearnDash. So that's really the goal as well.
Yeah, I love LearnDash, by the way. It's actually really good. So
I'm on Prozac right now, but I will love it soon.
Yeah,
that's a joke. No disrespect for people with genuine mental health issues, but so yeah, technology and me, we don't get on so well. So we're getting there.
So have you used Learn on Zoho? Is that the platform you're talking about?
Learn on Zoho? No, I haven't used that yet.
So Learn has so Zoho has something called Learn on it, and it's where you can actually record audios, you can put tests, you can have documents. And so I use that for my recording. I'm in the process of recording our content writing process for our people that come in so that they've got something to go through. I also automated, we have to gather a lot of information when we're building a website, right? And get a lot of documentation. So what I did was I built all my folders in Zoho as well. I give them a link to the learning. I give them a link to the content folders. Now they can upload everything, and I can actually do all of that from my phone. So now I don't actually have to do a whole lot. The beauty of it is that I can teach somebody to do that. So the upfront blueprint that we do with a client is completely written. So I can actually walk somebody through that so they understand the meaning of the answers, not the questions, right? So, and that's up online. So that's automated. The NDA is up there. Every part of it that I use, I put through my Zoho platform. But more importantly, I actually make those the stage that the person is at. So what it does is, if I get the NDA, they're at NDA. When it's returned and they've got the agreement, it says agreement received. When we've got payment, when they're onto the learning platform, and so on. So now all of my documentation actually dictates my process, right? And when things come back in, I know that part of the process has been done, and I can move them to the next level. And this way, I don't have to push on my clients as much. They get phone calls from me, they'll get some emails, but it's completely automated, and I can check it from my phone. I can be anywhere in the world and be able to do that. And it makes it so much easier to have the things that they have to do and my sales process being exactly the same, because now I'm not trying to think of two different things. You know what I mean? So for example, if you got a new client and they're taking you on for executive coaching, right? well, your questionnaire would actually get them to know how much you're going to be able to use of your current stuff. Let's say that you came out with a 70-30 split, you need 30% creation, right? You can actually then move your dial by where you're at in that creation process. And that's an internal part of it, right? And then when you actually deliver the product to them, right? And there's stages of your delivery, I would assume too. So like, let's say you got 6 sessions with them, delivery done of the first session. They have to do their homework. They actually automatically put it into the folder. Boom, now we go to the next one and so on, right? So that's how I automate my process.
Okay, thank you.
In a nutshell. Do we have one more?
Okay, last one is Lulu. Hello, Lulu Zhang. JJ, off you go.
Thanks, Jules. Thanks, JJ. So my business, I'm running a business to supply double glazed windows to developers and architects. And I'm at the very beginning of the business, and I'm learning all these new things about sales and marketing. And so one of the things I do right now is actually I get a list of architects and developers and just call them. I like what you talk about, the playbook, which is completely new to me. I'm going to start that playbook. The other thing you mentioned about patience. So I just want to hear from your perspective. You know, certain people, like you talk about rejections, they always say, I'm too busy. In reality, they are probably busy. And I would follow them up, you know, weekly or email them. If I just don't get responses from them, would you suggest I still keep spending my energy on following up, or should I just at some point kind of make it less frequent and focus on the new potential clients?
So there's a couple of things I would say. Number one, the people that you're dealing with are very visual. So you've got to be thinking about who are the people you're selling to. I mean, you're talking to architects. All they do is they want to see dimensions, and they want to see it's 3D, and you know they want to be able to see it, right? The second thing they want to do is be able to touch it. Why? Because a lot of them are very tactile as well, right? Because that all they do is draw, and they have to measure things to make sure that it works and fits. So when you're actually making your calls or actually preparing like the information that you're going to send them, what you want to do is use words like, we want to make it crystal clear, right? You want to actually get your language, your vocabulary for the client base that you're selling to. You want to make sure that that matches. That's number one. Number two, I don't know how you actually do your phone calls, but let me just give you a pattern. A lot of times people will make phone calls, and after the first phone call, they'll leave a message. And after the second phone call, they leave a message. And after the third phone call, they leave a message. By the end of like 5 or 6 phone calls, your name is, what the fuck? Right? Because that's what people are saying, because that's all they can hear is, there's that person again, right? And you know what the interesting thing is? They don't even know your name. They just know that you always show up on their answering machine. So here's my suggestion. Even if you're going to call back on this database, if you're not reaching them in the morning, I would suggest that you make a second attempt in the afternoon. And then I suggest you make a third attempt closer to 6 o'clock, right? So what time is your morning call? Anytime between 6:30 and 8:30. You're like, what? But let me tell you something. When you actually make your early phone calls at that time, right, you're going to catch some of the people who are the go-getters, right? They're working on a project, but they're there. And you just have to have something to say to catch their attention, right? And so my afternoon ones, I never call it lunchtime, right? But I know about the time that most people get back from lunch. So 12:30 to 2 or 2:30 is when I make my second calls. 4:30 to 6:30 is when I make my third phone calls to them. And those are for my hard to reach ones. I'm used to calling on CEOs. When I was calling on, doing a lot of work with Robbins, that is exactly what we did. And it was really important that I caught those CEOs when their gatekeeper wasn't there, right? And so that's why I was using that type of a strategy. The other thing is you need to make sure that whatever you're giving them, that you're sending them something that it's going to get their attention. If you want to hear a great podcast for contractors, actually, it's called Level 10 Contractors. And it's absolutely brilliant. It's somebody that I really love his work. His name is Rich Harshaw. And I find his information absolutely brilliant. And I think he's got some great marketing strategies, and they really all tie into a lot of you need to do when you're doing selling as well. So you've really got a little bit of a marketing and an overlap into sales challenge here, right? You've got to make sure that you've got some really good information, got your language structure in a good place, right? And then you're actually making those phone calls. Now, here's the thing. You don't leave a message all the time. After you attempt 3 phone calls, then you have a planned message script, and you leave them a message at that time, right? So it's not after every phone call. If you've called there a whole database of these people already, then what you need to do is you need to start into a marketing strategy. And your emails have got to get attention. That's why I would send you to listen to this Rich Harshaw. He's got some brilliant, brilliant ideas for overcoming adversity, for handling objections in that field, in that market, because he works with roofers and contractors, right? So, and he's got a number of glass companies. So you'll actually hear things that pertain specifically to your industry.
Amazing. Oh, sorry. Did you want to ask another quick question, Lulu, on the back of that?
Did that help?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I just said thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, well, girls, thank you all so much. If anyone's coming to the Sydney lunch, the Sydney dinner on Tuesday, JJ is going to be there, and I cannot wait to give you a big hug.
I can't wait to give you a big hug.
And Lauren will be there as well. And then I will get in contact with all of you who've shown any interest in doing this course. And I'll just send it out to you, and we can see who actually wants to do it, and we'll get in touch with JJ and come up with a start date.
Wonderful. If you're coming to Sydney, I'll see you at the Sydney event if you're coming. So
yeah, absolutely. And if not, if you do want
some time today,
JJ, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, are you happy to give their email address? Give your email address or something?
Simple. So JJ, just 2 J's, at dancemonkeydesign.com. Dance Monkey.
It's such a good name. I love it.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you so much, JJ. That was amazing. I think you kind of opened all of our minds to a whole lot more. And yeah, girls, this recording will be about 3 weeks before it goes up. So we get all this advice before anyone else gets to see it. And do get in contact with JJ if you want any help with CRM or anything else.
Yes.
Thank you.